I spent my wedding night in jail. Does anyone object to these two completing their marriage vows? Asked the preacher politely. I heard the murmured whispers and shocked gasps, causing me to turn to the crowd. A woman stood with a furious look on her face, hands balled into fists. I object, she yelled loudly. I recognized her immediately as my fiance's ex-wife. Someone sitting nearby tried grabbing her arm, but she stepped into the aisle, knocking over some decorations as she went. She had an ugly sneer on her face, and her makeup was smudged from sweat and tears. She looked like a mess with her hair sticking up in every direction and her dress stained and dirty. Did she roll through a mud puddle before coming here? I exchanged an uneasy look with my fiance. He was pissed. I could see a red flush traveling up his neck, and that was usually a sign that he was about to explode. What is she doing here? I hissed at my fiance. He shrugged, looking confused. I banned her from all the lists, he said. I even gave security a picture of her so they wouldn't let her in. I eyed the woman with distaste. She looks different than all the pictures you have of her, I replied bitterly. My fiance silently agreed as his ex took a step toward us down the aisle. You have something of mine, she slurred, pointing at me. I want him back. I laughed uneasily. If you're talking about my fiance, you can't have him. That ship is sailed. You might as well leave right now. You aren't welcome here, I said, proud of my voice for not trembling. The preacher cleared his throat a little uncomfortably. So is this a legitimate objection? He asked, obviously confused. No, I snapped. Where's security? The ex started stumbling around the room, talking to other guests and declaring loudly how terrible my fiance was in bed. He was obviously embarrassed, and I was seconds away from slapping the heck out of the ex. She was drunk. That much was clear. A few security guards finally arrived and tried getting her out of the building, but she was a slippery eel, managing to escape their grips. One of them caught her with his arms around her middle, and she immediately started screaming at him and calling him a pervert. The poor guy let out a string of curses and walked out of the wedding venue, claiming he didn't get paid enough for this stuff. I was becoming furious the longer it took to remove her from my wedding. She began ripping things down and tearing apart decorations. I gasped when she knocked over a very expensive glass bowl that had water and lilies floating in it. The bowl shattered, sounding like a bomb went off in the sudden silence that fell. Then hell broke loose. My parents started screaming at the ex to leave while my sister started crying over the bowl. That was her donation to the wedding. My fiance sat on the steps leading up to the podium with his head in his hands. I stood frozen at the front as I watched the ex running around and screaming like a banshee. She was completely crazy. When she started coming from my fiance and begging him to take her back, something in me finally snapped. Then she tried to touch him. I think he was in too much shock to push her away, but she ran her stupid fingers through his hair, and that was when I lost it. I leaped at the ex, grabbing her by her hair and yanking her off my fiance. She hit the floor on her back, startled into silence. When she tried to push herself up, I slapped her hard across the face. She choked on her spit and stared at me with wide eyes as she placed a hand on her cheek. She turned to my fiance as tears welled in her eyes, spilling over. You would be with someone as abusive as her? She whispered. My fiance frowned at her. She's not abusive, he snapped. You're ruining everything. She's just trying to stop you from burning the place down. I'd support her if she wanted to do more than just slap you. He spat on the floor in front of her. She screamed loudly before turning to me and leaping with her hands outstretched like she wanted to strangle me. There was a manic gleam in her eyes that honestly scared me. Something wasn't right with this girl. We started rolling around on the floor and only broke away when we heard loud shouts followed by the sounds of sirens. A couple of police officers dragged us apart and snapped handcuffs around our wrists. After explaining everything, the cops took the ex and me to the police station where I ended up spending the night. I was released the next morning and found out that the ex was remanded to a psych ward because of her erratic behavior. But the worst part of all of it? My fiance said the attack made him rethink the decision to marry me. He called it off.